Hi everybody, it's Rachel from Church at Home with Rachel. Today I'm going to do some. This is an extra video for today, so I'm not going to pop it up on Facebook or email it to people. It's just for people who are subscribed and watch. It's not really a church at home. I'm going to take off my collar. I'm not going to speak to you today as a priest or as a bishop. I am going to speak to you as a person. And it really has to do with a comment I received from a post a couple of days ago about the cat ladies and this idea that women don't need to. Someone responded about thinking that, their someone in their life had many cats, and their lament for them was when that person grew a bit older, that they would resent that and they would regret their decisions, and that indeed we are called by God, women are called by God to procreate, to have children, to multiply, and some reference to some kind of controversy or some kind of conspiracy by some nation that I'm not aware of, who try to convince women not to have children because there shouldn't be a next generation. It was all news to me, but it really, really bothered me when I read it this morning. Um, because there are a whole lot of assumptions out there about women. And I'm not even going to try to speak about men and things like that, but there are a lot of assumptions about women and women's procreation choices and whether or not they are choices. And it goes back even further than that. I am I am proud to be a woman who is happily married. I am a stepmother. I do not have children of my own, and that is not by choice. If I could have had children, I would have. Would my life be completely different? Absolutely. I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt that if I had had children, I may never have been an archdeacon. I may never have been a bishop. I may not even have stayed as a parish priest, and that's okay. Had that been the route that my life took, I would have been blessed. I believe I am blessed by the route that my life did take, for whatever reasons. I in no way, shape, or form think that God is punishing me that I cannot have children. I couldn't get pregnant. I don't think of it that way. I think of it that it's a thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just a thing. And I have been blessed by my faith and by my husband and people in my life who have supported me in the decisions I made as a childless woman. And I don't care what other people say personally. But I'd like to go back even further than that, because some women are childless because they can't have children. Some women are childless because, for instance, they're gay and they don't feel called to have a sexual relationship with a man or to pursue motherhood in traditional ways or through artificial insemination. They just don't feel called to be a mother. And that is okay. Haters, go ahead and hate. I don't care. But if you do, as a woman, do not feel that you are called to be a mother, then don't. Some of the worst mothers could be bad mothers because they never wanted to be in the first place. But we need to even back that truck up a little bit even further, because there are women out there, and I understand this. There are women out there who never had opportunity to become mothers or even to find out if they could become mothers. You see, I was that girl who went all the way through high school and university without being asked the prom. My high school prom, that Friday night, I borrowed my mom's car and I went out and got a coffee from the local Tim Hortons, and I drove around in the country for hours because that's what I did when I needed to think and when I was sad. I was lonely. I was a lonely teenager. I was, for those of you who might consider, well, your outward appearance is why no one asked you to the prom or no one asked you on a date. I didn't look like this. This was the freshman 20 that turned into something else. I was not an unattractive teenager. I was not overweight or underweight or any of those things that people might say, well, that's why. I was just never asked out. And I was not the kind of person who felt comfortable asking someone out. As a matter of fact, the one time that I did ask a guy out, he said no. So, my self-esteem might have had a little bit of that. But part of it was, I grew up in a world where guys asked girls out, and if a guy didn't want to ask me out, then okay, they don't want to. And I found ways of dealing with my sadness. I found ways of dealing with my loneliness, which was palpable as a teenager and as a young university student. Over the years, I threw myself into my work, which is not a bad thing. I was not asked on a date until I was 32 years old. And guess who asked me out? The man who became my husband. The man who first became my best friend, Rob. The fact is that for many years, up until I was 32, and Rachel, I was 34 when I was actually got married, I was I was dumbfounded by how the depth of the loneliness that I could feel. But the balance of that was the incredible depth of joy I felt in the things that I was called to do in my life. And looking back, it was a balance. It was never sort of everything's even Steven, that the grief is balanced by the joy. It was always like the grief or the joy. It just, those things never sort of worked out at the same time until I was more mature and older and recognized that God was still doing incredible things in my life. But when we get on about cat ladies and childless women, or we make assumptions, the number of times people assumed that because I was not in a relationship, I must be gay. And to me, that was like, I'm not, but okay, like not a big deal. But that was an insult. They meant that as something casting aspersions on my character. That's what we need to get beyond. I don't want it, like, it's not just about catless or childless cat women here, or, women who have dogs and no children. I want to get right back to the basics of recognizing that not all women in this world, yes, some have chosen to be single, but not all women in this world have chosen that lifestyle. For whatever and sundry reasons, that lifestyle has chosen them. And they may not be okay with that. And it feels like in our current, the temperature of our climate, and I don't mean climate change, but the political temperature and the way we speak about people and the woke things and all that stuff, that we have completely ignored that group of women who are out there in the world and saying, am I not beautiful? Am I not worthy? Does no one want to spend time with me, to get to know me, to come to understand that I don't have to be everybody's aunt at a party? I don't always have to be the bridesmaid and never the bride. What is wrong with me that no one has come into my life, that I haven't found someone with whom I can share my love and my joy and my dreams and my fears and all of those things that make me who I am? Right now, the world is focusing, it's true, whether people want to admit it or not, the world is focusing on what is happening in the politics in the United States. And the people who are terrified, the people who are LGBTQ, two-spirited plus, the people who are childless, childless cat ladies, the people who are of a different, the people who are of a different, have a different perspective on life, the people who are of a different color or a different cultural background from those people who are saying this is the way it is to be American. Well, that has an impact on the rest of the world. And we're all watching because it's scary. But what I'm seeing is this silo effect of, if you're like this, then you're over here. If you're like this, you're over here. And we are not talking about those people at all who are in the silo of being single, not because that's a choice they have made for themselves, but it seems to be a choice that society, for whatever reasons, has made for them. And as I said, I'm not speaking as a priest or a bishop. I'm speaking as one who has felt that, of wondering at what point in life do we just have to accept the fact that we're going to be single forever, and we're not going to have anyone to give us, make tea and toast for us when we're sick, or no one to bury us or come to visit our gravesides when we die. Those are real considerations. They are real thoughts for people who are struggling. And while I acknowledge there are many, many single people out there who are like, yeah, I'm beyond that. I understand that. I got that's great. But there are many people out there who aren't there. I was one of those people until I met Rob. And I know that had I not met Rob, I would probably still be that person. loving life, doing all the things that I'm called to do, and appreciating that, but still knowing that when I go home at night, regardless of how many dogs or cats I don't have a person who says to me, I love you. I don't have someone who says to me, you could really take a day off. Or someone I can go home to and say, I want to kill my coworker. Or someone to come home to and say, you know what, my coworkers did something really nice for me today. There is a whole subsection of society out there who, by no choice of their own, are indeed single. And they may have cats. And we need to recognize them and lift them up and celebrate who they are and celebrate the things that they love and be compassionate about the things for which they need compassion. Because being single, being a cat lady, isn't always a decision a woman or a man has made for themselves. Sometimes it's circumstances beyond their control that have caused that to happen. So as you go about the rest of your week and your weekend, I invite you to think about those single people you know, or the people at your workplace, or your friends, or in the community who don't have someone in their life. And before you assume that they're completely happy and this is their choice, give some thought to wondering, is it their choice? Or have they simply learned to live with the lot they have been given? I absolutely believe that they can have beautiful and joyous seasons in their lives. But from experience, I know that they can have difficult and very, very painful seasons in their lives as well. And be seeing what's happening in the politics in our world, that doesn't bode well for those folks who are alone. So please pray for them, reach out to them. And if you are one, reach out to us. Let us know what you need. Because I know from personal experience, you don't always need someone to feel sorry for you. But every once in a while, you need somebody to say, how are you doing? Are you okay? It's not a completely bad or good. It's you're back and forth along the spectrum. But we need to recognize that group of people who have never been asked to the prom. God bless you. Have a great day. And thanks for hanging with me with this extra little rant that I just felt needed to be shared. At least for my sake, if for no one else's. I'll see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachael. God bless.